Okay, this is part 9 of the Sculpting Fantasy Miniatures tutorial, and in this part we're going to do his belt, the bracers on his wrists, and his boots, and we'll be getting very close to done. So let me show you here. I've rolled myself out a nice thin piece of clay, and I'm using an X-Acto knife to actually cut it to the shape I want. And I don't want it to be exactly straight across, it's just a little bit of an angle maybe. There we go. Okay, good. Now I need to touch that up because it's not quite uniform. It needs to be squared off a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some tools. I'm going to use my X-Acto knife, and I'm going to, start manipulating this so it's very even and very clean, like a belt should be, and a buckle. Like the top part is a little bit off from the bottom part. So I need to cut some of that away. Now, same thing applies, but I want to try to get this to look like his waist has been pinched in a little bit. So I'm going to press on this pretty good to get this belt in. So there's a little bit of a V to his waist. Looks like the belt is cinching, which is what a belt does. Try to think about how the fabric reacts to different pressures. And the belt is a pressure on it. There we go. So, you see that? The belt looks pretty good. Okay, now I'm going to add the bracers. And what I have here is the thinnest piece of clay that I've rolled out yet. This is very thin. This is very thin. See it? And that's going to be for his arm, for his wrist. So let me see if I can get this in there. I'll make some room here. There we go. Okay. We've got bracer action. And there we go, not a bad bracer. I'll need to redo his fingers there. It's a little thicker than I think it should be. I'm going to try to make it thinner. Well, when that's painted, that'll look fantastic. The color of his arms, the color of the braces. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do the other bracer, and then we're going to start on the boots. Okay, now the boots. Nice thing about the boots is we don't have to actually do the whole boot. What we can do is, and what I've done here is, I've made myself a little piece of, a little strip of clay, just like I've done with just about all the other stuff. And we can take that and apply that right where we want our boot top to be. So right about there. The top of a boot. It's a pretty high boot. Right about there. So. This has to be a pretty thin piece too. Now I'm going to compress that down and detail it, and I'm also going to make it furry, and I'll show you how I do that. Once I've got it attached pretty well all the way around, and I'm going to lean it towards the top so it's actually a little bit thicker on the bottom than it is on the top. That will lend itself to the texture I put on it. Now, let's texture it like fur. And we can do that with a pin, with our X-Acto knife. Try to get strokes in there. Just random strokes to make it furry. And we're going to do that all the way around, and I'll show you that when it's done. You can see I got the boots done, the furry boots. They look really good. The braces are done. The belt is done. So that's the end of part 9. I have one more part I'm going to do with this as far as sculpting goes, part 10, and that'll be details, touch up. I'm going to do some small details. I'm going to touch up everything that we wrecked while we were working on it, work on his face, his hand, redo some of the musculature, get this sword right, and that'll be lesson 10. After that, we have to, because this is super sculpty, we can heat it, so we're going to heat it in the oven, and then we will paint it, and you'll see how it comes out. It's going to come out really good. So, one more thing, I may make this sword a little bit thinner. It is kind of big, and somebody sent me a comment saying, gee, that sword is awfully thick, so maybe I will. So this is the end of part 9. And stay tuned for part 10, firing it in the oven, and part 10 is detail work, the final detail work, and part 11 will be firing it in the oven and painting it. Thank you. Lots more stuff on my website, stormthecastle.com.